Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. Is night 2 of Destruction, Warlock nerfs, buffs, sims, changes, and tonight I have some more intricate, in-depth Destro sims to show you guys. So last night we talked a good bit about the changes to Destruction that are coming, both the 4-piece Blasphemy, no longer giving Reign of Chaos, and the buffs that are coming to Destro to Immolate, Incinerate, Conflagrate, and Chaos Bolt, and what it really means for, or I guess what it meant for the Roaring Blaze builds. Because last night, the Reign of Chaos not being granted by the 4-piece change was not in Simcraft, not in Raidbots. However, it was pushed tonight. As of Aura, demo time, maybe some others put a lot of work into it, getting the APLs out and fixed quickly, which thank you once again for that. So tonight we can indeed run sims with both some Reign of Chaos stuff, which we forgot one override last night for Immolate dot damage. So there's a bit of a DPS increase there comparatively to last night with Roaring Blaze sims. And then we can look at the Reign of Chaos changes, both in single target and AoE, in single target, Night Fae, Necrolord, and to see what changes legendary-wise, because there looks to potentially be some changes coming legendary-wise and build-wise. So we'll get into all that. Now, if there are any questions you guys might have or things that I might have missed in this video sim-wise, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Or if you want to ask them live, you can come by stream, link down below. All my weak words, add-ons, and profiles, all that are also available for free to you guys there if you want to come by and grab them. Before we get too far into the video, I want to give one big shout out to my patrons. Thank you guys all support from Patreon a million times. Really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, possibly there should be a link up here, as well as down in the video description below. So, with that being said, let's get into it, starting off with some brief single target comparison sims, and then get into the more in-depth ones, because some of these are pretty spicy. Okay, so I have a lot of sims to go over here. I don't know what each and every one is. We'll get through it together, it's fine. So before we get into it though, there were two changes that were made to the actual Destro APLs and things in this nightly build that came out a few hours ago. Number one, like I said, the 4-piece bonus no longer gives Reign of Chaos. We can look at that in a second here to confirm that, but that is one of the reasons as to why we lost some DPS with the Reign of Chaos sims. Number two, there was a change made both to Infernals and Blasphemies that delays their initial attacking and buffs by 1.2 seconds due to the fact that they just sort of land initially from what I was told and don't really start doing anything for about 1.2 seconds, which accounts for a bit of a DPS loss as well in these sims. So the loss or the changes you're seeing here are going to be one, due to the 1.2 second duration, I guess, reduction, however you want to word it, from the Blasphemies and from your Infernals from Reign of Chaos, and number two, from the actual nerfs. Now, briefly, I can show you here. This is a pre-nerf sim. I sent it before the actual nightly build came out. You can see this is like yesterday's nightly build, essentially, right? So if you go in here, I can scroll down briefly and show you the actual average duration of these Infernals is 7.9 seconds, basically being 8. We can go to the weekly sim, sorry, the nightly sim, which is the updated sim for this version. If you scroll down here, the average duration is 6.8. So you can see that actually is reflected in the sims here, which once again accounts for a bit of a DPS loss. So, jumping into the actual sims, off the bat, this is my current Madness sim. It's a bit higher than last night because I wasn't wearing a sigil. This is Madness, Cataclysm, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, all that with my current pre-nerf gear on. This is what I sim for right now on retail until Tuesday when the nerfs come in, 16.15. This is what it sims for when the nerfs come in, 14.794. So we're looking at roughly about a 1.35, 1350 DPS loss. Right around there. And I mean, one of the big things is because Reign of Chaos is being nerfed a crazy amount with the 4-piece interaction. If you scroll down here, you can see Reign of Chaos uptime is 24.2 seconds. It should be about 20, but fight duration, give or take a little bit, makes it a bit higher. Actually, it's here, 20.3. Sorry, there we go. Even better. Ritual of Ruin is the actual 4-piece bonus. So yeah, 20.3% is the uptime on Reign of Chaos here in the updated sim, the post-nerf buff, whatever you want to call it, sims, comparatively to where I'm at now, looking at Reign of Chaos being a whopping 53.9%. So you can sort of see the big difference, which we talked about a bit last night, in the disparity between these two and what the 4-piece change actually means. So this sim, off the bat, I'm losing about 1350 DPS in single target, playing the Night Fae, Madness, Kata, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit build with Dreamweaver, the baseline Madness build that we see played right now. So we also know that Incinerate, Immolate, Conflagrate, and Chaos Bolt have been buffed or are getting buffed by their own respective amounts. So I took the liberty of running an actual Cinders Roaring Blaze sim for Destro. And this is my current sim on retail right now, 13.452. I'm playing Cinders on my legs and Unity on a ring here. Roaring Blaze. I'm playing Dark Soul because Dark Soul sims is a bit better with Roaring Blaze just based on talent combinations and things like that. The updated sim with Roaring Blaze, post buff, post nerf, come Tuesday. It's actually 14 too. But it makes sense if you think about it, because this build here is not playing Reign of Chaos, it's playing Roaring Blaze. So this build is just getting a pure buff. It's buffing Immolate, Incinerate, Conflagrate, and Chaos Bolt. And 3 of those 4 spells are all affected by Roaring Blaze, which has a higher uptime when you're playing Cinders. So this build gained, if you're around to 14-2, roughly about, what, 700 DPS, right around there, give or take. It still doesn't beat out the actual Madness build, being at 14-8. And, you know, there's a bit of a higher high end here with Soul Conduit, with a lower low end, versus more consistency with Dark Soul and Roaring Blaze. But either way, the Reign of Chaos, Wilfred's Soul Conduit build does indeed still appear to be better, but we've lost a substantial amount of DPS. So moving on to the next sims here. Off the bat, I wanted to sim Infernal brand versus Combusting Engine. Combusting Engine does indeed work with Roaring Blaze a bit, and there's some Cinders, Immolate, Triple Conflagrate synergy there, however you want to word it. This is Reign of Chaos, Infernal brand. This is all pre-nerf. This is where it's currently at. Infernal brand is ahead of Combusting Engine, both playing Reign of Chaos by about 465 DPS. Post-nerf, it is still ahead by about 180 DPS. Combusting Engine is terrible to play with, so I'm happy to see that Infernal brand is indeed still better than Combusting Engine. Post-nerf, all that taken into account. You can see it, okay, here, maybe a little bit closer with the Roaring Blaze builds, but either way, Infernal brand does indeed still appear to be a decent bit better. So, moving on here, this is where sims start to get a little bit more advanced in things. So, I wanted to take Cinders sims, Madness sims, both playing Reign and Roaring Blaze for Night Fae and Necrolord, and compare them all individually, because there's a lot of questions here. 1, with Legendaries, and 2, where do different talent combinations actually end up lying? Because a change like this devalues Reign of Chaos a lot, which in a sense can sort of devalue Soul Conduit a bit, and add more relevancy to Dark Soul, and more relevancy to other Legendaries, which we'll get to in a little bit here. So off the bat, this is a Night Fae sim. Now, all the other sims are labeled Night Fae and Necrolord. Just keep in mind, this is a Night Fae sim. So Night Fae, Cinders, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, Cinders, Reign of Chaos, Dark Soul. Basically, we're just comparing everything Cinders, Roaring Blaze, versus Reign of Chaos. Now, this is a pre-buff nerf build. And the best way you can tell, we're going to talk about this a lot tonight in this video, is you can look at the actual sim build date. If it's on the 25th, it is a pre-buff nerf build. It is a current live retail build. If it is labeled the 26th, it will be a post-change Tuesday, post-buff nerf build. It might get a little confusing, but that's the best way to tell. So, currently, as we know, Cinders, Reign of Chaos, well, okay, Madness, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit is still pretty big, but unsurprisingly, Reign of Chaos and Soul Conduit is still the dominating combination, even when playing Cinders, for Desher Lock as Night Fae. Now, post-nerf, it actually shifts a bit if you're playing Cinders, as far as Night Fae is concerned. It's Cinders, Roaring Blaze, Dark Soul, ahead of Cinders, Reign of Chaos, Dark Soul by about 230 DPS. And interestingly enough, the highest build being Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit right here, drops off by about 486 DPS comparatively to Cinders, Roaring Blaze, DSI from before. There's a pretty big disparity here. There's a pretty big difference. But a lot of that just lies from the fact that Reign of Chaos got hit pretty hard by these nerfs, and Roaring Blaze only gained value. It didn't lose anything, because there was no Reign of Chaos interaction there. So Roaring Blaze has jumped a lot as far as like Night Fae and just general sims are concerned with these large fire buffs to Destro. So keep in mind the highest Cinder sim for Night Fae is Cinders, Roaring Blaze, Dark Soul, and Stability at 14,555 DPS. However, if you look to the Madness sims for Destro, once again, Night Fae, the current sim I'm at right now on retail, pre-buff, pre-nerf, all that, right now, tonight, is 16,137, which is pretty much the exact same we saw here, 16,156, with the quick sim we showed at the start of the video. So, the post-nerf, come Tuesday changes to the Madness builds and all that, looks like this. Madness, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit is indeed still ahead a bit at 14,780, comparatively to Reign of Chaos, Dark Soul, and Stability, about an 80 DPS disparity here between the two, followed by Roaring Blaze, DSI, and then Roaring Blaze, Soul Conduit. So if you compare these actual sims here, I can drag us over here, maybe not, okay. If you compare this Madness, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit sim, it's 14,780 DPS, comparatively to 14,555 DPS. So it does indeed still seem that Madness, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit is going to be the highest performing build, out of these two that we've simmed so far for Night Fae. Now, if you want, once again, if you want links to all these sims, they're down below. I didn't compile one big sim comparing all these because we have more coming down the line a little bit here, but this is just a little bit of a basis to go off of getting into the further sims. So it does indeed, once again, still appear that Madness, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, so far looks to be the front runner over the Roaring Blaze combinations, but there's a bit of variance between them, depending if you're playing Madness or Cinders. So, moving on to the Necrolord sims, because we know that Necrolord has for a long time simmed higher than, honestly, Night Fae has for the majority of, honestly, the expansion. Just for a lot of reasons, Necrolord really isn't played over Night Fae due to Fleshcraft versus Soul Shape and just 2, 3, 4 target scaling and just sort of things like that. So, this, once again, here, this is the 25th. This is the current Cinders sims for Necrolord, which nobody really plays Cinders at this point, but I think it's good to show these sims where they're at currently in game now to compare them, once again, to the post-nerf buff builds. So, currently Cinders right now for Necrolord is 15,375, playing Reign of Chaos and Soul Conduit, and there's a bit of disparity here between Roaring Blaze and Reign of Chaos, but, I mean, it's not too surprising because Reign of Chaos is just very strong now with the 4-piece, and Soul Conduit, like even for Night Fae, means more Reign of Chaos uptime, more 4-piece procs, more Chaos Bolt cast or Reign of Fire cast. It's the same thing with Night Fae, even though you're playing Necrolord, the same synergy with Soul Conduit and Reign of Chaos. However, when it comes to post-nerf, there is a large shift in the damage profile when it comes to Necrolord. So the highest performing build here, sort of similar to how Night Fae was, is currently here as Cinders, Reign of Chaos, and Soul Conduit, but that drops off a substantial amount to Cinders, Roaring Blaze, Dark Soul, and Stability. And that's because Decimating Bolt, number 1, increases the damage of Incinerate, which is number 1 being buffed, I guess number 2, Incinerate's being buffed by 20%. On top of, like, playing Roaring Blaze for more fire damage output with Immolate, Incinerate, Conflagrate. It's all that. The Necrolord stacking damage, Decimating Bolt, Roaring Blaze synergies, it gets even more powerful. So the actual Necrolord sims, like, you just gain value. You're gaining about 300-ish DPS here, right? I guess about 250, give or take, roughly. 15,375, 15,616, which is pretty impressive comparatively going back to the Night Fae ones, which, you know, Cinders was 15,030. And we actually lost about 500 DPS here. No, you actually just gain some when you're playing Necrolord because of the actual insane synergy that it actually brings. So, Night Fae sims right here. Final Cinders 14.55. Final Madness being 14.7. Right off the bat, Necrolord's ahead by 1,000 DPS roughly, give or take, compared to these. 900 DPS. And this is playing Roaring Blaze. So, the Necrolord Madness builds. Currently, this is sitting at 16,462. I haven't seen this build in a while. That seems pretty wild to me. I just broke 16k, like you see right now, at 16.1 in my current retail build, playing Night Fae. But we've known Necrolord's better for a long time when it comes to single target. So this build, well, that basically shows that. This is, once again, the pre-nerf build. This is my current retail sims. However, the post-nerf changes that are going to come potentially on Tuesday, 16,462, Madness, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, shifts 15,497. About 1,000 DPS loss, roughly. And this is the big thing, because you're playing Madness here. Roaring Blaze does indeed gain some value. It jumps from 3rd and 4th to 2nd and 3rd here. The Madness, Reign of Chaos, Dark Soul Sim is not doing very hot here, but you lose a lot. But that's sort of the thing. The highest Madness output sim we have for Necrolord is 15,497. Once again, post-nerf. Comparatively, the 15,616 playing Roaring Blaze. So Roaring Blaze, partially due to the Immolate or the Incinerate buffs, partially due to, I mean, the Roaring Blaze fire synergy, and partially due to the 4-piece not bringing Reign of Chaos anymore, for single target Necrolord, currently appears to be pulling ahead of Reign of Chaos in actual sims, which is pretty interesting. Now, I've enjoyed playing Reign of Chaos for a while, but I mean, you can't really deny the synergy between Decimating Bolts, all the fire buffs that are coming in, and the large nerfs overall to Reign of Chaos. Alright, so when it comes to Legendaries and where they sim with talent combinations and things, I ran individual sims here for like just Night Fae, Reign of Chaos Legendaries, and Night Fae, Roaring Blaze Legendaries. I have links to all them down below once again if you want like the individual ones, but I compiled a large profile of basically all of them, comparing every Night Fae, it's Night Fae, Reign of Chaos, Soul Conduit, with every Legendary, every combination basically possible of relevance is in this actual large sim. So brace yourselves, because some things might indeed be changing. Okay, the highest sim that I have seen. Night Fae, Reign of Chaos, Embers of the Diabolic Raiment, and Dark Soul Instability. This is a really interesting one, because if you think back to when 9.2 first started, Embers of the Diabolic Raiment was actually something pretty high. It was pretty close to madness, even beating it in certain sims, being close in others, and they do similar but different things. Embers gives you, I think, 100% more shard gen for each incinerate you cast, which does indeed mean more chaos bolts, more 4-piece procs, more infernals, all of that. Now, madness, I guess, arguably has had more synergy with the 4-piece, because the 4-piece means more Reign of Chaos uptime. More Reign of Chaos uptime means more chances for more Infernals during the fight. When your main Infernals Reign of Chaos expires, which means more Madness bolts. You can chain Madness further, in a sense, with the 4-piece working the way that it used to with Reign of Chaos, or I guess that it still does, but might not, depending on changes. Now, the 4-piece will still give you that Blasphemy, which will still give some shard gen, but once again, it will not be able to chain that Reign of Chaos for longer than your half-minute play around Infernal will be able to do. So once that half-minute expires from your play around Infernal from that Reign of Chaos, you might have some Blasphemy shard gen going, but you don't have that extra half-minute of Reign of Chaos. So that definitely devalues Madness a bit. Embers gain some value here, but the really interesting thing is, like, look at the disparity here. So, like, both Embers builds here, Reign of Chaos versus Roaring Blaze, about a 70 DPS difference, still favoring Reign of Chaos, Embers, and Dark Soul Instability. The highest non-Ember sim is Reign of Chaos, Madness, Soul Conduit, and this is about 150 DPS behind the big Embers DSI build. This is the build we play now on retail. We all play this, it's fine, it's lost a bit of DPS, but it's fine. Now, the big thing here, Night Fae, Reign of Chaos, Wilfred's, Dark Soul Instability. I can tell you, if there is a 4 DPS difference between Reign of Chaos, Madness, Soul Conduit, and Reign of Chaos, Wilfred's, Dark Soul Instability, with a 7 DPS margin of error in this sim in the first place, I struggle to find a world where people just really don't play mostly Reign of Chaos, Wilfred's, and Dark Soul Instability. Having a 2-minute Infernal damage profile, more often than not, is pretty relevant, or more relevant comparatively to a 3-minute profile. Now, if there's a fight where you really don't get an extra Infernal, it doesn't matter, then maybe Madness can be a little better. A fight like Lords of Dread, Madness is probably still pretty good. But at the same time, if you can get an Infernal for every Swarm phase with Madness and 4-piece being nerfed, it might just be better to actually play Reign of Chaos, Wilfred's, and Dark Soul on those fights with that 2-minute damage profile. So that's very interesting, right? We have to sort of play it by ear and see where things go. It's important to once again mention that Embers was strong, or I guess looked to be pretty strong heading into 9.2, and it still is. It's sort of been in the background, like, I'm still here, I'm still solid, but I'm just not as good as Madness until now. So it's pretty wild to see how Madness is devalued, Soul Conduit's devalued. You can't deny the synergy here, though, between Madness and Soul Conduit, and the 4-piece, which is still being, propped up a bit here comparatively to everything else, but just all the Dark Souls. I mean, you have Oh Dear here, Dark Soul, Madness Dark Soul, Embers Dark Soul, Embers Dark Soul, and a couple SCs mixed in here and here. It's pretty wild, but I think this is wild. Let's look at the actual Necrolord ones. 14,917 being the highest sim for Night Fae. Necrolord, 15,737. About what? That's like an 800 DPS difference, right around there. Florida math, something like that. Yeah, I think right around there. Once again, Embers, Dark Soul being the top performing build here, which this makes, I mean, it's Roaring Blaze. And with Roaring Blaze being at the top here, it makes more sense, because once again, Necrolord, Roaring Blaze, Decimating Bolt, Incinerate damage increase, just more consistent fire damage in general. It makes more sense looking at Necrolord for Roaring Blaze to be a little better, but even looking back over here, Roaring Blaze is not too far off. This same build for Night Fae. Roaring Blaze, Embers, DSI, it's basically right here at the top for Necrolord. This build looks to pack a lot of power, whether you're Necrolord or Night Fae. Once again, about an 800 DPS disparity between the two. But once again, DSI, Soul Conduits, but just a lot of DSIs here. And interestingly enough, the actual Wilfred's build here is not as high as it is for Night Fae. It's about a 450-ish DPS difference here. But, I mean, there's differences between Necrolord and Night Fae for a few reasons. And honestly, once again, the fire synergy between Roaring Blaze and just what Necrolord does for its damage profile varies enough where it makes sense as to Wilfred's being a bit more devalued here. But still, on 2-minute fights, I could see it being used. We have Embers, followed by Cinders of the Azakir, triple conflagrate, and then Odor, whatever you call it, the actual triple the Havoc Cloak, which you can use in single target. I wouldn't recommend it. Both these are better, but it's there. It's sort of funny to see. The big thing is that Dark Soul instability, like legitimately, could be coming back. Soul Conduit, a lot of fun to play with, but with that 4-piece being nerfed and not being able to chain those Soul Conduit refunds into 4-piece procs that bring Reign of Chaos, you can still chain them, but they don't bring the Reign of Chaos. It's devalued a good bit. So very interesting. I wouldn't go out and make Embers or Cinders if you haven't scrapped it down yet as of yet. We'll wait and see what happens over the next few days, but it's very interesting to see a shift towards Embers, a shift towards even like Wilfred's when it comes to single target. Madness still hanging on a little bit, but it's interesting to see. I'm gonna be honest, I enjoyed the Madness playstyle, but Ember's is a lot of fun too, and I've always loved Wilfred's playstyle. 2-minute Infernal, Dark Soul, it really doesn't get much better than that. So outside of all those like legendary combination sims and all that, I wanted to run some brief AoE sims. Now, there's a million ways people try to sim for AoE in Raidbots. I don't run any kind of hectic ag cleave sims. I stay patchwork. The way I sim for it is typically 4 targets, 40-ish seconds. Then you can do like 10 targets, 40-ish seconds. I did sims with Bloodlust and without Bloodlust mixed in to show the difference. Brace yourselves. So it actually, it might not, we'll see. I don't even know what to say. I'm at a loss for words. Okay, so this is my current sim. 4 targets, 40 seconds. Bloodlust is on. 83,526. This is the post-nerf sim. You lose about, I don't know, 15,000 DPS, something like that. This is 4 targets, 40 seconds. Bloodlust being on. This is a 10 target, 40 second sim. 225 with Bloodlust being on here as well. Post-nerf, we're looking at about 165. So, I mean, we know that, like, obviously with like Inferno target capping and all the shard and all that kind of stuff coming in, plus like losing Reign of Chaos and more targets, it's a bigger hit, a bigger damage loss, all that. We know how it is. We know how it's going to be. It's unfortunate to see, but this is just the world we live in. We're losing a decent bit of damage. We know it's a big nerf to our AoE. If you look at the non-lust sims, I'm sitting at 61, 136 in a 4 target, 40 second sim. Post nerf, we're at 49,000, so about like a 12,000 DPS loss, 11,000, a bit less, but still there. And the same 10 target sim, 163, no lust, to about 123. So about a 40k loss there, give or take. And I mean, a lot of that's due to, like, the actual synergy of losing Reign of Chaos at that 40-ish second mark. And also a bit of the Infernal changes being mixed in and all that stuff too. It accounts for more than just the actual 4-piece change. Because once again, the Infernal duration before they start attacking has been changed from instantly to, second and a half into their actual lifespan or whatever it is. So all the changes being applied. Obviously, we know it's an AoE nerf. It's going to happen. It's life. It is what it is. And we just got to make the best of it, I suppose. So I also did want to take the liberty of running one big final legendary sim for you guys too, because let's combine both covenants and see where they actually lie. The highest sims, Necrolord, Roaring Blaze, Embers, DSI, Necrolord, Roaring Blaze, Cinders, DSI, Necrolord stuff. There is some Night Fae in here. It's here, the highest Night Fae sim being 14,922, the Reign of Chaos Embers build, which we talked about a little bit ago. Once again, we know Necrolord's ahead by a long shot, just due to the base nature of what Necrolord does. But the big thing, once again, to take away, there's a lot of Dark Soul domination here with Roaring Blaze, with Embers, I'm sorry. I mean, well, I guess Roaring Blaze for Necrolord, but Roaring Blaze, Embers, DSI, and going down to the high Night Fae once again, also DSI, Embers once again, Embers once again. There could be a decent shift in the playstyle of Demo or Destro and everything coming up over the next few days, weeks, depending how it all goes. Monday, I think there's a chance these changes might get reverted due to the overall frustration of the player base and how it's so close to the MDI and things. But we'll see where that goes. If it does, hey, none of these sims matter. We'll talk about it again in Season 4. If it doesn't happen, hey, these sims are relevant, and we'll see where Tuesday goes. But I don't know, personally, I enjoyed Soul Conduit, but I'm down for some Embers DSI play. Sounds pretty fun to me. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Now, I know this video might sound a bit similar to last night's video, but there were no Reign of Chaos sims that were really possible last night without the APL changes being pushed to Raidbots and all that. They are indeed here now, so these sims are pretty accurate from what I've seen, but there might be some changes coming in from what I've heard, maybe some Infernal timings and things, so it's important to keep these in mind, all the changes, legendaries and talents and combinations, but also it's important to not jump the gun on these things, because quite possibly things might change, and you don't want to dump gold on legendaries and talents and all that stuff if you don't need to. There's still time, and honestly, like I said, I mean, it's what, Sunday morning? They might even revert these changes before, you know, the weekly reset. They might not, who knows? But either way, hey, I'm excited for some Embers play. Some Dark Soul play sounds good, and honestly, I'm excited just to slam Wilfrids in a lot of places too with Dark Soul, if that's the actual play. 2-minute build of Destro, I feel like always ends up just being the play because of how strong CDR and 2-minute Infernal actually is, but then again, Madness Embers, depending on the setting you're in, could be the actual choice, so we'll see where it goes. Our AoE getting hit sucks, but that's life. Let's be honest, we knew nerfs were probably coming at some point in Season 4. It's wild that they actually came at this point in Season 3 with the MDI coming up very soon and people pushing for the high .01 title and all that. I talked about that yesterday, though, so I mean, I'm not going to, you know, rehash it again, but it is what it is. So, thanks for watching, guys. Any wiki wars or add-ons or anything you saw in this video, link to my Twitch down below where you can grab them. If you have any questions, drop them down below in the comment section. I'll be sure to get back to you, or come by stream and ask them anytime. Feel free to do so. I want to give one huge shout out to my patrons as well. Thank you guys a million times for all support on Patreon. Really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, there should be a link up here as well as down in the video description below. With all that being said, thanks again for watching, guys, and I will talk to you all again soon on stream. Peace.